my name is Zoe. I am the Tipsy Psychic, and today I am going to talk to you about the truth about astrology. The truth is that most of us don't know what we should know about astrology. We have so many misconceptions and confusions about astrology, and that's why so many of us are so skeptical of it. And that's why a lot of us don't resonate with certain signs that we are associated with based on the time we are born. I think it's about time that we face the truth about astrology. So some of the things I'm going to talk about you might already know about. If you are a seasoned or professional astrologer, it doesn't hurt to watch this video, but you probably know these things. I hope you know these things. I think it's good to be skeptical about things. In fact, it can be really healthy. I don't think you should just accept everything that people tell you to be true, but I do think that people have a lot of negative reactions to astrology, or they have different ideas about it because they are misinformed and because they aren't able to be open to something that they don't really understand that well, and that's okay. And the truth is, for most of my life so far, I have been very skeptical of astrology. I have stayed far away from it in my psychic business because it just didn't resonate with me. And I completely understand when other people feel like they don't really believe in it and they're not really into their sign. And I'm not telling you what to believe, but I am going to maybe explain some more about why these things make sense. The first truth is, hey, maybe you are a cusp sign. Maybe you were told you are a Capricorn, but you happen to be right on the border of Sagittarius and Capricorn, and I'll definitely do a video more about what that looks like. Yeah, maybe that's just what it is. Maybe you're just dealing with some energy from Sagittarius. Maybe you are actually a Sagicorn. Maybe you were born right when the signs switch over and you had no idea, and so you are really taking on a lot of Sagittarius energy. And a lot of the videos on my channel are about cusp signs and are for people who are in that position, who have to deal with that on a regular basis and have different energies of different signs. And you have to remember, you have a chart out there and any of the planets can be on the cusp. So, for example, my Saturn is on the cusp of Pisces and Aquarius, or Aquarius and Pisces. Definitely check out your chart. I will also post information below on how to do that. Many astrologers don't believe in cusp signs, and that's totally their prerogative. Number two, you are not your sign. So let's just focus on sun signs here, because that's what we really talk about when we say you're a Virgo, you're a Sagittarius, or you're a Scorpio. It's easy to just say, this is your birthday, so you are this. To assume all these things about a person just because they were born at a certain time is stupid, because people evolve and people change. And you need to understand that your sign is always evolving with you. It isn't a label that you glue onto yourself like, hey, I'm a Taurus. No. And this goes for cusp signs too. I mean, no one should just assume that they understand me because I'm a Gemini, because I'm always changing and always evolving. And so when someone comes up to me and says, I don't really feel like a Gemini, I'm just like, you're always changing. Like, you don't have to be your sign. You naturally might embody certain traits of this sign, but you're always moving. And what I like to think of it as, instead of saying you're a Virgo, I like saying you're Virgo-wing. Like, you're constantly moving, you're constantly developing. And if we all were Virgos, and we all, like, if all the Virgos were just Virgos and they all had the same traits, then that'd be pretty boring, right? Like, we'd all be robots. But we embody our sign in different ways, and we take on different traits, and there are a gazillion different combinations of possibilities of who we could be. So never just assume someone is really analytical, detailed, or organized, or likes to serve and be kind and help out just because they are a Virgo. There's just some very basic cliche traits of a Virgo, but that is not at all what the Virgo is here to do, because a Virgo is always in action, right? They're always trying to get somewhere. And that's where this perfectionist mindset comes in, the ideal place where they want to be, this perfect mind, and this idea that if they don't get there, they might not be good enough. And with that comes other things like being very analytical, needing to be competent in something. There is way more to your sign than just a set of traits that could possibly, go with it and that you could possibly be. So when someone says you're such a Virgo, they should really be saying you're Virgoing right now, like you're doing it. I mean, and we grow as we get older. Often when we're younger, we are usually a lot more like our rising sign. But as we get older, we come into our sun sign a lot more. Number 3, most of the time we are talking about our sun sign. Our sun sign is who we are. It's how we develop our identity, our ego. It's really about shining light on our life. And that's why it's such an important part of our chart. And that's why we focus on it so much. Because it's all about developing the self. There are so many more planets to consider, and based on how they're connected, like by aspects, and what house they're in at the time, that is how you're going to really tell what's going on in your life. But if you trust these newspapers that base everything solely on your sun sign, and you know what, I might be kind of hypocritical, because the truth is, like, when I talk about cusp signs, I'm talking about sun signs. I'm talking about like my compatibility videos. Those are sun signs. If you want to learn more about your relationship, I'm not saying they're not accurate, but if you want to learn more about yourselves, then it's so good to have a full-on chart reading, because you need to know how the other planets come into this. The point is that most of the time what you're getting on websites, on apps, it's usually your sun sign. So keep that in mind. Most people don't actually know that, and it's very general. It often gives astrology a bad name, and a lot of astrologers will definitely agree with me on that one. Number 4, you are not subject to the universe's whims. I like to believe in fate, and I believe that we all have a destiny and a path. I also believe that we all have our own choices, and we can choose to really take that path and follow our chart, or we can just say, fuck it. You don't have to embody your birth chart. Just because it says this doesn't mean that you have to be it. You can choose to do your own thing. Your chart is a wonderful tool. It's like an amazing tool. Astrology can tell you so much about yourself. It can help you make these decisions that further yourself and help you further understand yourself and your own being. You don't have to use it. Like, people who don't use astrology and don't know it, they still turn out okay, guys. Like, they might not be following exactly what their chart says, but they're okay. Like, you're not gonna, certain people are more influenced by certain celestial events in the universe. I think that there are times when one person will experience, for example, Mercury in retrograde more than another person. I think it hits all of us, you know what I mean? It influences all of us, but I think we each experience it differently, and that's how we are as human beings. So I'm not saying that we aren't influenced at all by the events in the sky or whatever in the universe, but I do think that we do have the right to decide whether or not we want to use it, whether we want to go with it or not. The universe doesn't really rule over you. You have power over the universe. Like, you can say, I will do this, but I won't do this, even if my chart says I want to do this. Yeah, I mean, it's still up to you. You have free will. Like, that's a big problem with mixing religion with astrology. I know someone who is so into astrology, right? I was so impressed with them because they knew their shit. Like, they knew so much about their chart, and they really understood it at a very high level, higher than a lot of professional astrologers that I've met. But then they said, well, this is why it's going to happen this way, because God told me it's going to happen this way. I was kind of disappointed, because you're welcome to believe in what you want to believe in, but when you start saying, well, this is how it's supposed to be because God says so, then you're also using it as a way to not use it as a tool. Like, you're not using astrology to help yourself. You're just handing your power over to the universe in a way. And so I'm not hating on anyone who has their own beliefs. Organized religion, it's not my thing, but I totally respect other people who, love what they love and believe in what they believe in. It's not my place to be like, you can't do that. But I do think that when you put so much power into the hands of a higher individual, you also lose a lot, especially when it comes to astrology, if that makes any sense. Your chart is the blueprint to your life, right? It's a map. You can choose to take it on and follow it. If you don't follow it, hey, maybe you'll feel like you're lost. Maybe you'll feel a sense of aimlessness. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but often when people aren't doing what, they are sort of drawn to doing, then they feel that way. They feel like they're in a loop, or they aren't getting any better with their life, or they're having difficulties. And that's just how it is in life. When you're not doing something that you should be doing or that you're drawn to, you feel lost. You feel like a sense of aimlessness. So the fifth one is for anyone who watches my compatibility videos and who has said, oh, but my sign would never do that. And I've had multiple people say this to me, like, oh, but you're wrong about this. You do have to realize too that when you're in a partnership with someone or you're in a relationship, that person might bring out sides of you that you never thought was true, that you never fathomed would happen. Have you ever been with someone who you just never acted that way before? You've never felt this way, and you start taking on different traits that you probably would have never done if you had never met them? That's what I'm talking about. So sometimes it can be contradictory, right? Like in one video I say, you're the kind of person that could do this, and then the next video I say, well, you might act like this, and it's like they're opposites. That's the joy of these combinations of relationships. You bring out the best in each other, the worst in each other, you bring out different sides in each other, you learn, you grow, and you might act completely out of character with someone. You'll find some couples can magnify each other's flaws. Number 6. There are different types of astrology. I don't think there is a right one or a wrong one. You'll find a lot of astrologers disagreeing with me on this. I think that what works for some people doesn't work for other people, and that's totally cool. I work with tropical astrology, Western astrology. I'm always interested in like Vedic and sidereal astrology, but I work with tropical. So when you ask me what the dates are for your sign, I will tell you the tropical one. A lot of people don't consider Western or tropical astrology to be legit because it's not really focused on the constellations. What it is focused on is the seasons of the solstices and the equinoxes. While at one point it may have been lined up with the constellations, it's really not about that anymore. That's why when the 13th zodiac sign came out, tropical astrologers were like, so? Because we didn't really use that and we didn't really care. And it did not completely rock astrology and destroy it. For us, it was like, well, we don't really use those constellations. This is an ancient art and this is what we do, and that's that. Now, in sidereal astrology, you are using the stars and where they are, and it's much more based on the constellations. It's not focused on the seasons or the equinoxes. It's a different system, and it doesn't mean it's not legit and it's not true. Honestly, that's up to you to figure out. That's up to you to decide. You can find a way to work with it, and that's cool. If you can use my videos to your advantage, that's fine. But I've had multiple people ask me about this, and so I just want to say, like, there is no right or wrong. I think that there are a lot of people that will tell you that they know best and that they are right and you're wrong. And I think overall in astrology there is an overall general understanding of the way things work, but I do think that over time everyone develops their own style of reading. They develop their own way of doing things, and whether they use a different system, whether they use a different house system, right? Placidus, equal house system, like they do it based on what feels right to them. Whether they like to use cusp signs, whether they don't like to use cusp signs, how they feel about intercepted houses, how serious do they take stationary planets, orbs. I know I'm mentioning a lot of jibber jabber for a lot of you, but just know that there might be a set of overall rules and guidelines, but in the end of the day, you're going to meet different astrologers with different opinions about things, and over time, you'll develop your own. So I encourage you to take what I'm saying and take all of these videos that I'm creating and to come up with what works for you. Now, I'm not saying to sabotage astrology and say like, you know, I'm just gonna make Mars actually this thing and not that thing. No, that doesn't mean make it up, but it means talk about it in your own way. So for anybody who gets extremely aggressive at you or tells you that your way is wrong, fuck them. And if anyone ever says, well, I don't really believe in astrology, then just say, okay, that's okay. Do you want to? Like, I can try to explain it to you in a way that might make sense. I am a twin, and my whole life I have been very distant from my twin. I am not someone who can compare to him. I just feel like we have never really gotten along. It's not that we tried not to, it's just that we were this way. And I just couldn't wrap my head around astrology because we had the exact same charts with hardly anything different. It was like nothing different, like 1 degree difference. And what are we supposed to do? You know, we're supposed to be the exact same people? I don't think so. And that's where it's very important to understand that we embody our charts in different ways. And so I've learned to appreciate astrology even more as I've learned about it, and I've understood my brother's chart and my chart and how it might be the exact same thing, but it's been interesting to see how we each have gone about it and how we each have taken our paths. And it's just been really fascinating to me. So there are a lot of different things. I'm very fascinated by health astrology. There's practical astrology, evolutionary astrology, relationship astrology, sex astrology. I do believe that in order for you to really understand your cusp sign, if you're a cusper, you do have to understand the signs and how they work. If you're a Gemini Cancer cusp, you need to understand Geminis and Cancers so that you can understand how it works together, like what it means. Because just hearing my little blurbs about it, I don't think that's enough. So I definitely want to go into that more. I think that's about it. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel and let me know what you think. Bye.